listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Hammer, it is round 20. I've got my papaya shirt on. We're good, ready to go. I'm ready to go to Bali with all the boys on holidays. Mate, are you excited for captains this week? There's only 2 teams on doubles.
Yeah, look, you'd think it'd be straightforward after how many weeks of just slapping the C on Kendrick Davis? All of a sudden, we have a whole world of possibilities. Would you care to discuss?
Mate, let's delve into it.
Go captain, my captain. Go captain, my captain.
I can't believe that's the last time we're going to listen to this year.
It's come around real quick, hasn't it?
Mate, I tell you what, if Brano changes it to the bird's eye ad with the II captain again, I tell you what, he's out. I'm never talking to him ever again.
Dead to us.
I'm gonna slash his tires. Mate, captains this week. So let's preface again. It's super hard to captain somebody on a single. It's been hard to play people on a single. I haven't been confident to captain anyone on a single, honestly, in the last couple years. But on doubles, we've got Illawarra and we've got Cairns. Due to the NBL format, nobody runs out of trades in this. So you can just bring in a guy, especially when you're getting double score. I think if you want one of these guys as your captain, you should prioritize them and bring them in. So open slather, don't just look at the guys that you own, which is a good tactic every other week. Maybe you're fixing some problems down low, moving on some 100K guys that aren't playing very often or anything like that. This is the final week. If you want a captain, if you believe that they're going to score well this week, burn a trade. Burn 2 trades to get a captain.
Yeah, for sure. We talked before, there's some options. The 2 teams we're looking at who are on doubles, Illawarra, Cairns. Let's start with the Hawks. There's probably 3 you could consider.
I've got 2, so cool. My first one's Trakel. Spoiler alert, he's probably my pick. Drop back to the last episode if you wanted to hear us and skip halfway through our dribble. And then skip about halfway through the episode, and we had a chat about the fact that it's not actually a dead rubber for Illawarra, that if you listen to last week's episode, we thought was going to be. So Trakel, going to be playing for something, even when he's not scoring well, assists really well, just scores 30 points a game for fun.
Yeah. And look, he could stuff around and get your 40 or 50 without even scoring well. He assists. He's even bigger. He's a big guard. He can get the odd block. We know when he was in Adelaide last year, he came out with a triple-double and spat out 70. So he can do it. The problem we've had with Illawarra, and we talked about in the last pod, is they do it by committee. He doesn't need to be the man each week. That's what scares me a little bit. The other option at Illawarra we've talked about, who I'm not as high on as Kel, is Sam Froling. He's been rocks and diamonds. He's good. He's great. But his average is pretty ordinary.
To be honest, it's probably like he scored that a couple of 15s and that in there, which has a lower floor. But to be honest, let's talk at the last 6 rounds. I've always thought that he was just a 30-point per game player. We've started to see him score in the 40s, but we've also seen him score in the 15s in the last little bit, which is actually the kind of Supercoach player I like. I mean, I would love if they score 40 every week, but you're also not going to get them sub 300K. There is upside now with Froling. So I don't hate it. I just don't like it as much as Kel, because when Sam Froling scores 15, Trey Kel is still out on the floor, and maybe a Tyler Harvey or somebody like that's cooking, and he just feeds it to them.
All right, talk to me about the matchup. So Sam Froling's going to take on New Zealand, who have nothing to play for. They've got Taco Fall who is a man mountain. They've also got a bit of a slippery Meninga who can step out and stroke the three. Then they go into Sydney, who are fighting for their position, who will finish somewhere between third and fifth. And they've got a much smaller lineup with centres, probably mixing it up between maybe Cooks, Oliver. That's probably about it. Do you find these favourable?
Yeah, I think Froling's too big for Sydney, and I think Froling's too... Like, I'm not calling him the most agile bloke, but Taco Fall's basically a tree out there. So
Yeah.
I think he's going to be too quick for him. I think he's too big for Menenga. I think if Froling plays 30 minutes, both these matchups are favourable.
And the style of play that Illawarra have is favourable. They play inside out, which is very different to most other teams. They pound that ball inside, and without Days at the moment, he's their number one target inside. So, look, he's going to get the opportunity. And they often go to him. They go to him often and early every game. Whether he's on or not is a different story. But, look, there's potential.
Yep.
Let's talk about Cairns.
I don't hate it. You said there was 3 Illawarra options.
Yeah, I forgot I can't count.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good, because I had no one else. I ain't captaining Harvey or Swaka Labullock. So
I actually own Swaka Labullock.
I don't. My favourite here is Sam Wardenberg. And I think he's got that upside. I think when they're cooking, they're cooking. But his stats when Taryn's in the lineup have been a lot worse than when he's not. I started to own him when I saw that Taryn was out, and he's been scoring well. But just when I did that deep dive, and it was on the Inside NBL or the Supercoach Matrix Instagram page, it was just Wardenberg when Taryn's out there. Wardenberg when Taryn's not there is the absolute man. And we had a chat about your boy Pedro. You're voting for Pedro this week, and how Pedro's going to benefit by the fact that there's not a guard there. I think Wardenberg will probably take a step back with Taryn being back. That's my concern.
Yeah.
I like Wardenberg, though. He's got that upside.
And my other concern is Wardenberg is so heavily owned. And I would imagine he would have a fair few people putting the captain on him, maybe. I'm going to go with Pedro. And let me tell you why. I am sitting at about 1100th, something like that at the moment. My season's as good as over. I'm not going to be finishing in the prizes. I'm going to throw a Hail Mary, and I think the upside of Pedro is enormous. We've seen the last 3 games have been his best games of the season. He's had, I think, 42, 38, 31 Supercoach points. Now, without Rob Edwards there's minutes, there's more ball. Look, he's playing loose and free. They're playing with the house's money, these Taipans. Adam Ford is just going to say, go out there and get after it. I think it's high risk, high reward. Pedro is going to be my vote for captain.
Probably the elephant in the room. 6'4", being compared to Josh Giddey, Taron Armstrong, coming back from an injury. Are you worried about limited minutes? Are you worried about upside? We saw him score a 44 just before he was ruled out injured the other day. He has the keys to the city here. I don't know if he'll still be in this town. I'm not going to call Kansas City next year. Mate, what do you think about Taron? He's my last one on my list.
Yeah, I've always found it hard to play him. He's not the player I've expected. I watched him closely at college. He's a Tasmanian kid, so I follow a fair few of those ones who head over to college. But in college, he was promoted as Josh Giddey-ish. The passes he made, I was expecting him to come into the league and drop 10 assists a game. He was voted most likely to lead the league in assists, and it's never eventuated. He's never really been that playmaker. And whether or not it's because he hasn't had the pieces around him or whatnot, I don't know. But he's scoring a lot better than he is as a playmaker. So I don't see the ceiling as high in Supercoach because he's very reliant on points at the moment. They
Yeah, I don't
play.
want to give you. I don't want to give you the scouting report, but when you play for Cairns, like when you pass it to someone, you need them to make a shot, and I'm not even throwing shade at Cairns. You've been awful all year. Like you are last for a reason, and I do wonder if Taron Armstrong played for the Sydney Kings, if Taron Armstrong played for Melbourne United, if Taron Armstrong played for basically anyone else, he could be 400k.
Yeah, you do get the impression that he has to work for his assists in Cairns, whereas you look at someone like Matthew Dellavedova, who I think he's second in the league in assists or something. Some of his assists aren't really assists. He reverses the ball on the perimeter, and Goulding jacks a three, and Delhi was the last one who touched it. Let's put him down for another one. Yeah, it's tough up there. They've got matchups this week playing Brisbane Bullets and then the Tassie Jack Jumpers. These could potentially be dead rubbers.
They could be, but I think if you're throwing Mitch Norton at Taron and, Doyle and some of those defensive guys at Tasmania at him anyway, it's their last games of the year, I think, for Brisbane and Tasmania, barring, some huge collapses. I think they'll be playing for their fans. They'll be playing some defense.
Let me play devil's advocate for you. Adam Ford came out in the press conference this week talking about Rob Edwards, saying, I pulled him out of the game at halftime because I knew he had somewhere else to go that was going to be financially benefiting him. I didn't want to see him get injured. If you're talking that Taron's going to the NBA or thereabouts, would Ford be of the opinion that let's not get the kid injured? He's only just come back from an injury?
Let me tell you something for free. Woodenberg and Pedro aren't going to the NBA.
100%.
Honestly, I think the greener pastures for Taron, and maybe he makes a Boomers team or something if he's healthy. But I think the greener pastures when I'm talking about the Kings are the Sydney Kings, not the Sacramento Kings. When it comes to Taron, I don't like. I enjoy watching the kid play. I loved watching him play in the Blitz last year. Honestly, watching Taron play in the Blitz last year was one of my highlights. But yeah, he played. He had an absolutely ripper up here at the Gold Coast. But I just don't think the
Send him
NBA
home to
has
Tassie. We'll take
Yeah,
him.
maybe that's his overseas opportunity. Mate, that just about wraps it up for me. I am going Kel, Froling, Wardenberg as my top three captains. What have you got?
I'm going to go, look, got to risk it to get the biscuit. Pedro, Kel, Wardenberg.
All right. Sounds good. Look, it was a mini here. There's two teams to talk about when it comes to captains. There's no point delving into what we think Xavier Cooks is going to score when he's playing on a single. So we're running a short one. We answer every question in the Patreon. We've got a WhatsApp chat that's absolutely humming. I went for a 10K run the other day, Hammer.
Did you? I'm impressed.
Yeah, I did. And you want to know what happened when I got back from the 10K run?
Tell me.
I looked at my phone and there was 95 WhatsApp notifications. So guys, get in the Patreon, have a chat with everybody that loves the NBL as much as you. We've got game day chats. We're going to be chatting about the finals. And if I can hammer into it, we might even watch a game live together. So,
Count
guys,
me in.
yeah, I tell you what, I'll message your wife. It's about getting you away from your kids, and I'm all for that.
Savior.
Guys, we've finally made it through round 20. Congratulations on your season. I hope you've had a PB. I know there's only been 2 years of Supercoach, but you've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.